Welcome, everyone, to the Arts Academy podcast, first podcast of the new year. Let's get started with everything that you guys need to know for the end of the second market period and our third market period. So first, with communications questions, we always try to answer any questions that you guys have on this podcast. Feel free to reach out to myself, the guidance counselors. Mr. Buscio is with us today, Ms. Alvarez, and our supervisor, Mr. Ricciardi, with any questions that you might have. And definitely pay attention in the next couple weeks as the superintendent is going to start to talk more about what's going to happen for Q3 and our plans for how we're going to come back into Q3. You want to add to any of that, or?
Yeah, I think within the next 2 weeks, again, it could be next week, it could be the week after that. Everybody's back at school now, so I'm sure they'll put together a Google form to send out to families so that we can gather that information with families' interest to come back to school. And if we have good numbers, I would anticipate that we would be back at school in some capacity. And if the numbers aren't good like they were in Q2, I think it was down to like 30% at that point. Then we'd probably be virtual again. So, it's going to be basically based on, what you guys send us back and the information that we get once we collect that data to see what's more feasible for everybody. In terms of like other questions in communication, we do these podcasts. If there's any questions from parents, as Mr. Gongora just said, feel free to email me or your guidance counselors or guidance counselors and copy me. We speak all the time. We have a group chat going throughout the day and through our email that if we have something that needs to be addressed, it gets addressed immediately. Mr. Gongora has more class, so that's why I don't want to overload him too much with that stuff. He's nice enough to come on here and run our podcast for us. But by all means, feel free to reach out to us for that. And then the other part of that is right before the break, we had an email that kind of generated a group discussion in a guidance meeting, which then generated a bigger discussion in the student council meeting. And then we broke into a bigger meeting with just the Arts Academy, Mr. Buscio, Ms. Gongora, a bunch of the teachers. I invited a bunch of teachers and a bunch of the student council from the arts that were involved in arts came on, and I thought that was good. We had a lot of good feedback. We were able to, a bunch of students came out and said that they didn't have, a workplace that was suitable for what they needed. We were able to get 10 desks donated to 10 of our students. We're working on maybe trying to get more if donations come in, and we're breaking out. Mr. Gongora can even talk to. He's one of our academic coaches, and they broke out into smaller meetings within departments and spoke to the teachers about some of the concerns that students had, whether they be too much homework, homework over the weekends, homework assignments coming in late at night. All these things are things that the students brought to our attention and are being addressed, top down and all the way down now to our teachers individually. So Mr. Gongora, maybe you can even talk about the last meeting that you had with the department.
Yeah, as far as the math department, we basically talked a little bit about all the concerns that the students are having. Mostly, everybody was in agreement in the math department anyway that to give more time for assignments, to try not to make due dates ever on the same day, to give plenty of time to do any assessments that we want to do, and we talked about what we can cut from the curriculum each year to still keep the flow of the core math classes intact, but shifting topics from one class to the next one in the sequence. So you're in Algebra 2, might not see everything that you would normally see in an Algebra 2 class, and you might have to see a little bit of that in pre-calc. So most of the teachers are hopefully having discussions like that within their department. And as we go through finish up the first half of this year, we can hopefully try to sort of change the pace of each class so that the students aren't overwhelmed and having to do, it might seem like a little bit, 20, 30 minutes of homework a night, but if you multiply that times the 6 classes or the 6 academic classes that they have and their major, it adds up. And we really don't want our students to be on the computer, because that's where you're doing all your work anyway. We don't want students to be on the computer from 9 in the morning until 10 or 11 at night. That's really not healthy at all. So those are the things we talked about within the department, and hopefully we can get together with the group again in the next couple weeks here and try to continue that discussion with some of the things that we didn't have a chance to get to. But
yeah, I'd like to have a follow-up discussion with that also. And Ms. Gongora, I think Ms. Alvarez is in the waiting room.
Oh, yeah.
And then in terms of tech request, right before we got an email, Mr. Buscio had mentioned to me earlier in the morning, they sent around an email that the tech department was having issues with their submissions. So now that is taken care of, any students that have issues with techs, Chromebook, or anything else, you can fill out a tech request, either reach out to your guidance counselor or to me. Ms. Delgado actually reached out to me that 2 of her students were having issues. So I was able to intervene and get some information from the tech department and from the students. I reached out to both students. So by all means, if you let us know that there's an issue, we're going to address it. We can't address things that we're not aware of. So we're trying to stay on top of stuff, but please reach out to us, as best as possible. Ms. Alvarez, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
We're good. Powerschool Parent Portal. Maybe you guys, guidance counselors, could just talk about that real quick. I know we talked about it previously, but we just want to make sure that all the teachers are involved.
So parents have access to the parent portal, and if they have trouble getting onto the parent portal, they should definitely have their children, or they can contact us directly. We can definitely get them the information for logging in, but it's a great way to just keep up with the grades and any work that your child may be missing from the quarter.
And again, we try to get the teachers involved to update those grades every 2 weeks.
Yeah, so Mr. Surek is pretty good. If we send him that a parent wants to, doesn't have access, he'll get right back to them. So.
And the end of the semester is the end of January. You guys have a date in front of you?
29th.
29th. Okay, I didn't have a calendar. So you guys are working with 4 weeks here, right, to finish off the semester. So make sure students and parents check Powerschool, talk to your teachers. If there's any issues, by all means, reach out to your guidance counselors. Attendance. Attendance has been an issue that a lot of the emails have come to me. Mr. Ricciardi, I'm not going to be in for a certain class period. Any of that information, it's great for the student to reach out to either their guidance counselor or their teachers directly, but the official notification needs to come from a parent or guardian. So Mr. Rivera is our attendance coordinator. So an example, I got about 5 emails today. I'm traveling back home. I'm coming from seeing family. I'm going to check in for the day, but I may miss my first or second period class, or I'm going to check in for email for the day and I'm going to miss classes. The whole point of checking in for the day is that you're able to attend all of your classes. That's the intention. So if there's any day where you're going to miss the entire day, you should not be checking into attendance in the morning. Okay, because again, for us, that's a cut class. And I've had a couple of meetings over the last few weeks. Ms. Alvarez, Mr. Buscio have been involved in them, where we're talking to students and we tell them, you only have 3 absences from school, but you have 5 missed classes for first period, 6 missed classes for second period. Those are all cuts. The teacher can give you a 0 for any work that you miss on that day. Okay, so you want to make sure you reach out to the teacher and let them know. But you also need to know, if you tell them that you're not going to be in their class, their job is to mark you absent. Just because you tell them doesn't mean that they're going to mark you in. You need to be physically in that class, in the Google Meet, for them to mark you in. All right, and that's their responsibility. They're going to be held accountable for that. So make sure that your attendance is accurate. And if there are any issues, by all means, you can reach out to your guidance counselor and they can advocate for you. But your parents should be the ones reaching out to Mr. Rivera.
Right. I think there was a problem. I think sometimes the form is going to the spam. And then the students are not looking to spam. And they're like, oh, I didn't get the form to sign in this morning. So you have to check your spam folder. It's been a problem.
Well, and the other issue too with that, if it's the same form every day, right? The form doesn't change, so they can get it off of our district website.
Yeah, well, that too. Yeah.
That's what I do as a teacher, right? We have to sign in every single day, so I just have it as a, I get it off the district website and I put it up in my favorites. So I have a favorites folder with all my work stuff, and that's where I
bookmark it on the iPhone too. Whatever phone, really, you could bookmark it and then they'll show up every morning.
Yeah, I do have a folder on that too. All right, and then you guys want to talk a little bit about college information?
Yeah, well, what we're getting now is coming up to mid-year. So the mid-year transcripts for our seniors are going to be put on Common App after quarter 2. If you need recommendation letters, let the person know at least 10 days before it's due so that they have time. The brag sheet, if any senior didn't fill out the brag sheet that we put on the Google Classroom. If any juniors want to know anything about what to do next, we could always send out a month by month to-do list for college. We do have links to scholarships if you want to start looking into those. But mid-year is coming up, so it's now it's time to for colleges to see how you're doing in the middle of the year for quarter 1 and quarter 2.
And if you're one of the students that are making up work from quarter 1 or quarter 2, it's definitely the time to do that, because your colleges can see the difference in grades. So like, let's say your transcript or your grades from quarter 1 or quarter 2 weren't that great. It's a good time for colleges to see that you've done all the work and you've caught up and you're doing well.
Yeah. Also, every senior was sent the transcript for so up to the end of their junior year. They should look over it once again. Just keep skimming over it, because if there is a mistake, it's good for us to know now instead of
Yeah,
that's true. That's good. That's great information for seniors. How about for juniors and SAT, PSAT prep?
so I know the SATs. I have a child that emailed me about the code, the SAT fee waiver code. So if you need an SAT fee waiver code, if you are free or reduced lunch, you should definitely get in touch with us, because we can give you a code. If you haven't done so already, you should definitely watch it's the video that we sent you. I believe we sent it over the summer for college planning. If you haven't done it, you should definitely watch that video, and you can actually start working on Naviance and doing a college search now.
The next SAT date, I believe, is March 13th.
One other thing I'll add is that things like math remediation doesn't just have to be for your math class. So I've had in the past students who've come for math remediation just for help on questions that they had on the SAT. So if you have a workbook that you're working on, or if you have some problems that you're doing on Khan Academy to prep for the SAT and you don't really understand what's going on, take advantage of the math remediation, take advantage of the English remediation. Those teachers can help you prepare for free.
Yeah, and I think it's important, obviously that's for seniors, for juniors, and then for everybody else, other tests, right? We have a linked test coming up January 15th. So that'll be for math and language arts. That'll be throughout the district. Just looking at our other tests, the language arts NJSLA for high tech will be 5/24. So that'll be May 24th, I believe, is our date. And then for math, May 25th.
Yeah.
Okay, so all of those are, and then science is the 17th.
We're still going to keep our fingers crossed that those get maybe canceled. But.
Yeah, we have them scheduled as a district, and that's all state. The linked stuff we want to do. The other stuff is all state, mandatory throughout the state. And with that information, the state would be the one to cancel that if they were cancel it like last year. But as of now, that's all being scheduled. So
yeah,
that's all important information. And then course selection process, change of major. I wanted to put this down there, and then maybe everybody can just talk about it for the students, because we get a lot of questions about that when it's time. And then we get a lot of questions about that throughout the year. And then even in September and October, people say, well, I want to change my major. And if you want to change your major, you should make that decision within the next 2 months, because that's when you can request the change. Okay. We're going to probably put the information out in March, I would assume, right after February break. Usually when we get into March, we'll put that information out. And that's the course selection process. As part of that process, if you want to change a major, you can request that at that point. I believe last year, Ms. Alvarez, Mr. Buscio, you may remember better than me, there may have been like 40 requests for change of majors. Does that sound about right?
Yeah, there was quite a few. Yeah.
All right. So of those 40, I think about maybe 20 to 25.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's not guaranteed. So you know, we don't want the students to go and request it thinking like, oh, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. You know, because it's not
correct. It's not guaranteed, and a lot of it has to do with what kind of grades and interests you show, and then the second part is there room in that program? So not every program, you know, has the capability of taking an additional 5 or 10 students. Some programs are just maxed out right now, and because of that, we can't move people into those programs. For example, last year, broadcasting is the last 2 years that I've been dealing with this as a supervisor has been the most popular major for juniors and seniors. I cannot fit everybody into the broadcasting major. Last year, I believe we had 33 requests for 18 spots. So I had to go through a secondary process to try to eliminate 15 students, and you know, pretty straightforward. I want to make sure everybody understands. If you're not your sophomore year, right, in media and visual arts, if you're a sophomore, you were able to choose 2 majors. So maybe you chose graphic tech and interactive media. I have some students that then select broadcasting for junior year. That's not the way it works. The way it works is you're exposed to all 4 majors in media and visual arts your freshman year. Your sophomore year, you pick 2. And then your junior year, you should pick the one from that sophomore year that you wanted more information on. You should pick one of those 2. So if there's an overflow and there's just way too many kids that request a certain major, that's going to be the first criteria for me to determine whether or not we're going to accept you into the program. And then from there, we may have to go to grades and recommendations from Mr. DePiero or Mr. Askeles and the other teachers in MVA. All right, so that's important if you're looking for a change of major. And it's something that the counselors have to deal with when you want to request a change of major in September or over the summer after the deadline. Then they have to, you know, try to address that, and they really can't. There's nothing for them to do at that point. So please try to do that in a, you know, pretty good process. That's change of major. MVA major selection is probably the most important one. And then in terms of electives, just to go back, seniors are going to have the option to pick upwards of, I guess it would be 6 electives next year. All the seniors are going to take 40 credits again. So you're going to have the option of picking 5 or 6 electives depending on what your major is. And then in terms of juniors, you have the option for 1 elective. So you can either take your 3rd year of a foreign language, or you can take an elective in place of that foreign language. Off the top of my head, that's the stuff that I was thinking about, guys. Do you have anything else on course selection?
No, you definitely covered it. If you're thinking of changing, you need to start doing it now and definitely put it in for March. And you can't tell us after it's passed.
If you want to know what electives are going to be available, like things might change, but we can give you an idea of what the seniors took this year. You know what I mean? So we can go over that too.
Yeah, maybe that's something that we can put together for the show notes. We can throw that in the show notes, just a list of the electives from this year. It's not a bad idea, Mr. Bush. Yeah. You know, again, there's no guarantee that they're all going to run again. We had a couple last year that we thought we were going to run, and we wound up not running just because there wasn't enough interest. So, yeah, I think that's just about it, Mr. Gongora.
Yeah, I think so as well. So thanks, everybody. We'll be sending this out to all the emails so you guys can take a look at it. We'll put a few things in the show notes, like Mr. Ricciardi said. We'll put the list of electives. I'll also throw in the link. Actually, it's on this channel. Is the couple shows that we did right before the break. If anybody didn't have a chance to check those out, they were both very good. The drama show and then the sort of compilation video of the dance musical theater and music and audio tech. They were both very great. So If you haven't had a chance to look at those, check those out as well. And we'll see everyone next time. Bye.